Hey leaders, welcome. We're going to dive right into what's probably the toughest question on any leader's mind right now. How in the world do you build resilience when a crisis doesn't have an end date? When your entire organization, your whole community really, is trying to navigate a loss that's just always there?
It all starts with this one simple question, doesn't it? How are you? A question that suddenly becomes so incredibly complicated. That little pause you hear, that hesitation when someone says they're fine, that right there is a window. It's a window into a collective trauma that's touching every single person on your team.
And that's really the heart of the matter. Your people are showing up. They're at their desks, they're on the calls, but let's be honest, they're not fully there. They're caught in this impossible split screen between the normal demands of work and life and this deep sense of loss that just doesn't go away.
So, to really wrap our heads around what's going on inside our organizations, we need a better way to picture it. Let's call it the silent fall.
We've all heard that old riddle, right? But I want you to think about it this way. What if it's not just one tree falling? What if, all around you, inside your organization, people are having these silent falls every single day? Individually, they're quiet struggles, but together, the sound is absolutely deafening, even if we haven't learned how to hear it yet.
So this thing we're talking about, it actually has a name. It's called ambiguous loss. And psychologists will tell you it is one of the hardest, most stressful kinds of loss to deal with. Why? Because there's no closure. You can't grieve and move on from something that hasn't ended. The grieving process is basically frozen in place. And look, this isn't just some vague, sad feeling. It's a really disorienting experience. You can't pinpoint when it started, there's no logic to it, and you have no idea when it'll end. People feel like they're losing their social connections, their communities. Some even feel like they're losing their sense of self. It leaves people feeling totally adrift. And when that happens to everyone at once, the very fabric of your workplace can start to unravel.
So, here's the bottom line for us as leaders. This ambiguous feeling, it causes very real, very concrete damage. This isn't just a wellness issue anymore. It's a core business problem.
Just take a look at these numbers. They paint a really stark picture of what's happening inside our people. We're talking more than half of your employees struggling to concentrate. A staggering 80% are dealing with emotional pain. This is not just a few people having a bad day. This is the new baseline for almost everyone on your team. Their systems are just on constant high alert.
And all that personal pain, where does it go? Well, it shows up right here, in the metrics that we all watch. Productivity goes down. Burnout, no surprise, goes way up. And pretty soon, you start to see people leaving, that costly employee turnover, because they've just been suffering in silence for too long and they finally hit their limit.
Now let's talk about leadership for a second, because this next number, this one might be the most important one we look at today. A recent survey in Israel found that only 10% of employees believe their senior managers can actually handle what's going on right now. Yeah, just let that sink in for a minute. 90%, 9 out of 10 of your people feel that their leaders are just as lost as they are. That is a massive crisis of confidence. It means that when people show up to work, they feel like they're walking into an organization that can't give them the stability or the guidance they so desperately need.
Okay, but, and this is a big but, this is not an unsolvable problem. We're not the first to go through something like this. We can actually look at other massive crises around the world and see how other organizations and communities managed to get through it and even came out stronger.
Think about Wall Street firms after 9/11, or companies like Walmart after Hurricane Katrina, or even giants like Toyota and Sony after the tsunami in Japan. They all faced these huge collective traumas. And you know what they learned? The absolute key to keeping the business stable was to focus, first and foremost, on their people.
So what did they do that was so different? What's the secret sauce? Well, we've studied what they did and we've boiled it down into a really simple, actionable framework that we call the WELL model.
But before I show you the model, let's just be real for a second about what you, as leaders, actually need in a moment like this. Because the last thing you need is more theory, right? You don't need another presentation telling you to just be more resilient. What you need are tools, practical tools. You need a chance to practice having these really tough conversations, to learn how to spot those invisible signs that someone is overloaded, and how to respond with both compassion and clarity. So here it is. This is the path forward. We call it the WELL model, WELL. It stands for witness, empathize, listen, and lead. And what's so powerful about this is that it completely shifts your focus. It's not about trying to fix people. It's about creating an environment where people feel seen and supported so they can start to find their own footing again.
Let's just zoom in on that first step for a second, because honestly, this one changes everything. Becoming a witness.
Now, this isn't about religion. It's about psychology. The most powerful part of that line isn't the valley of the shadow of death. It's the last 4 words, "For you are with me." The fear gets smaller not because the danger goes away, but because you're not going through it alone. Being a witness means making sure that fall is no longer silent, because you are there to hear it.
So how do you do that? What does being a witness actually look like day to day? Well, it's not about big grand gestures. It's about small, precise adjustments. It's using language that says, "I see you, I know this is hard." It's offering flexibility that's thoughtful, not just chaotic. It's creating clear routines to give people a sense of stability. And it's remembering that your employees don't walk in the door alone. They bring their entire family, their entire life with them.
So I'll leave you with this one question. The trees in your forest are shaking. You know they are. The only question is, are their falls still silent? You now have a way to hear them and a model for how to respond. And the first step isn't having all the answers. The first step is just deciding to listen. Thank you.